Thank you so much, and I'm really thankful for thank you to the Awesome Fat team for hosting me and giving me this opportunity to discuss the future of luxury selection and recruitment. I would love to start off by just wishing you a happy belated Easter and Ramadan Kareem for those of you who are celebrating. And I'm excited to be here, so let's start.
All right. Thank you very much. So I think what we've done is that we've collected a lot of questions from the students. So we sent out this Google document to all the students across all the campuses, and we had asked them to put in all the questions. And so I'm just going to read out some of the questions from my side. So my first question to you is, what do recruiters look for in a resume of a fresher? And how can one, as in a fresher, impress a recruiter when they are a fresher?
I mean, it's very easy to impress a recruiter during the resume screening phase. First off, you need to really have an organized resume. So have an organized layout, format, no spelling mistakes. Your grammar should be perfect. So overall, it should be easy to read. Another thing, it should be professional. So, for example, email addresses like king34 or princesslove@hotmail.com is not really professional, especially if we're applying for global and international any organization. I'm not talking specifically about luxury at the moment. It's really just tips and tricks on how you should do your resume. It's better to list your experience over your education, and when listing your experience, you should really take into consideration to listing it in a chronological order. So what you've done in 2016 should be put as the most recent, let's say, but not mixed dates up. Something else that I would really like to share with you, you have to think that your social media profiles are actually your virtual resumes. So of course you need to have a paper resume, a digital one, and to apply for jobs, but you really need to also make sure that your social media profiles are professional, because it says a lot about you outside work. And it's and for any organization or recruiter, we also want to get to know you personally. So not only on a professional basis. In short, your CV really needs to be short and sweet, with no spelling mistakes, great layout, organized, and yeah.
Thank you. I think that was pretty interesting for all of us. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
My next question is, and I think this one will be a little different. So what kind of qualities do you personally see in a candidate who has come for an interview in a luxury firm? For example, the top 3 to 5 skills that a person should have to be selected for a luxury organization. Is there something like that you can point out for us?
Yes, being punctual, and that does not only reflect the qualities of a candidate who's applying for a luxury organization, but for any organization. The appearance and the first impression you should create should really have a huge impact. So in terms of appearance, we talk about how you're groomed, what you're wearing. It doesn't necessarily have to do with the brand you're applying for. Not because you're applying for Tiffany, you should be wearing Tiffany jewelry. Not necessarily. It just you really need to just be well groomed. Make an impactful first impression, which also needs to look professional. And yeah, I mean, during an interview and to be considered, another skill is asking the right questions, because as a recruiter and during an interview is simply a mutual conversation. So it needs to come and go. You asking me questions is not a harm at all. On the contrary, it shows the recruiters that you're actually interested in being here and in sitting here. And lastly, I would say it's very, very important to talk about the organization's culture and how you could fit in it by giving examples and just, showing passion about the brand, towards the brand, and the people who work at the brand. That is also one of our, you can easily get the job if you do these little things during your interview. So I hope that has answered your question.
No, it's definitely answered the question. I mean, especially the last point where you need to have fit with the organization. This is something that we tell our students all the time. We ask them to go and read the annual reports, understand what the company is all about, and look into yourself that are you somebody who could work in that kind of an organizational culture? So, I mean, this is something that we always say, and I think that was wonderful coming from your side. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My next question, I think it comes from somebody who really wants to get into the public relations department. And this person asks the question, what does a perfect luxury public relations CV look like to you?
Okay. For someone who's applying for public relations, let me first say that public relations comes with also marketing skills and communication skills. So that needs to be very, very obvious, during either a phone screening or simply a resume screening. So a perfect CV for PR would have great ideas and potential to promote the brand through different channels. So that person needs to show us how give us examples of how they could promote the brand across, social media, newspaper, magazines, and it would be great if they're real examples. So it's, out of experiences. But if that person is a fresh graduate, we usually say you need experience to work and you need work to gain experience. But it's really not only about that. It needs to, the PR resume is slightly different than any other resumes because it has to show a little bit of, color, maintain the color, but in a professional way. You also have to, the resume needs to portray organizational skills, creativity, and real examples of life or work experience. But if that is not if that's not in your resume, well, that's fine to an extent, but at least show us or highlight the fact that you're good at certain skills such as Photoshop, editing, video editing, or organizing events, even if they're simply events that you've organized throughout your university years, or a diploma, or between your friends. Even it could be something that these are like the baby steps for new joiners or people with candidates with no real work experience if they want to get into PR. And of course, just during the interview, it should be really emphasizing on the fact that you have the skills as Photoshop and as I said earlier, but you have to also be prepared, because it's not only really talks. We could actually ask you for an assignment. So you could be asked to go back home and create a video or edit the video or whichever the assignment is. So it really needs to be genuine and coming out of real experience.
Thank you very much. I think that pretty much answered a lot of questions for all the students who are looking to get into PR. I think that was very clear. I think now I can already see my students running about and starting to think, what assignments could I do? And I think you really set about a big motion in all of them. Thank you so much for that, Myriam.
I really hope it does. And please, I wanted to know actually, how many of your students want to get into PR?
I think from my Bombay team, from my Pune team, and also from my Dubai team, there could be close to about 40 to 50 students who would love to get into PR.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's really interesting.
Yeah, a lot of people are interested in PR because I think they've right from it. And whenever I speak to anybody who's interested in PR, they always say that right from a very young age, it's PR is attracted them. So it's not something that they're choosing because they think it's going to be a lucrative career, but it's something that comes from within them.
100%. I really agree, and it just needs a lot of creativity and patience.
Yeah. Okay. My next question to you is, after this situation, this COVID-19 situation, what challenges are the challenges that will arise for an HR team? Now, this is a question for you, and we just want to know things from your perspective. In a luxury company, will brands recruit less than before, or will they start recruiting more? What kind of challenges will you face after this entire thing is over?
Okay, so I know the situation we're in is certainly unfortunate and can have a huge impact, not only on us physically and mentally, but also on organizations. However, it really just depends from one organization to another. And it really, again, depends on within the organization from one department to another. So let me try and explain this. Some brands will recruit less depending on their budget, and others will keep their recruitment ongoing. And that is really based on how crucial the role is in that current situation for that specific organization. So, let's say, is it really necessary to recruit sales professionals to be, to be standing in store and selling products face to face, or do we need someone, for example, to work as in e-commerce? So we try to adapt our needs to what current situation we're in. Now, for almost a month, shops and retail stores were closed, so we didn't really need at that moment sales professionals, but we needed someone to ensure that our e-commerce is up and running, so that we still make sales. But no, it just really answering the question. No, we will not recruit less, and we will not recruit more than needed. It just really depends on the business needs. But putting this aside, from an HR perspective, and our priority as HR is really the safety of our employees, and that's what we put first. So we should really be abiding by the government regulations, the WHO rules, or the American Center of Diseases. These are really what we try to follow, in terms of social distancing and to keep our staff as healthy and as safe as possible, because mainly HR job is to take care of people. So, first taking care of them and then thinking of whatever comes next.
Thank you so much. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think my next question is a little bit more from a very fresher perspective again. So one of the students asked, what does a company or a brand or an organization expect from their new intakes as a fresher? So, yeah.
So let me try to get this right. So when we say new intake, as in the person who
just joined an organization.
Just joined. Okay.
And these guys, most of our students are all freshers because they may not have substantial experience before. So I think the question is coming from a very fresher's perspective again.
Okay. No, I mean, that's a really great question, because, sometimes on our first day, especially when we don't have any work experience from previously, it could be really tense, and, it's not easy, but try not to be shy. Try to show confidence. What we really are looking for is, maintain the good attendance, be punctual. Again, I cannot emphasize on how important being punctual can show a lot, can say a lot about you. Let me put it that way. Of course, respecting the dress code, if any, because if I've done my job right as an HR, I should have already told the employee or the candidate what the dress code is, so they're expected to be ready from day one. They also have to display positive, respectful, and professional attitude. But again, we're not asking them not to be themselves. You really need to be yourself, or else it will show. and it will look really fake. So we just want you to be yourself, but again, in a professional and a positive, respectful attitude towards your team members, towards the person who you'll first see. And in most cases, it's the receptionist. It tells a lot as well how you treat, office boys and receptionists, etc. So again, just be yourself, and we're sure that we hired someone who's professional and respectful in that way. But again, it's a lot of things. Your eagerness to learn as well. Usually on the first day, you're being you meet the team. You're being told in a way what is expected from you. So your eagerness to learn and showing interest in what has been said to you gives us a lot of confidence, and it puts you on the right path as a new joiner.
Thank you very much for that. I think so. I think that's a very well put, especially the part of being punctual. I think a lot of our young students also need to understand that, but the moment they switch over into a professional environment, being punctual is exactly something that is really expected from everybody. So thank you very much for putting that up.
Let me sorry to interrupt, but let me add something else about being punctual. It really starts with the university or where these students are studying. If they're taking their classes seriously and going on time and respecting deadlines, etc., it will be very easy to come on with the work life.
Thank you very much. As an educator, I think that I will record this part, and I'm going to make sure.
They will probably hate me for saying this, but it is true. This is how I learned it, at least.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I have a question here from the students. We have Stephanie Gunn, who's written, she wants to know if you're switching careers, would it be best to apply for an internship, or do you suggest that she applies for an entry-level position?
Is switching careers within the organization or outside the organization?
I'd like to believe this is outside.
Outside the organization. So it was internship or applying?
Or should she apply for a beginner level position?
Beginner level position, of course. Of course, especially if she already has work experience in any other field, in any other department or industry. You would definitely go with an entry level position, to grow within the company that you want to go to next, and switching careers and getting to understand more about your new roles. But definitely an entry level position. If there aren't any available at this time, and you find an internship opportunity that could be very beneficial, or in a company that let's say you have an internship opportunity in a global organization, or you have an entry position in a national organization. To be honest, for your own sake and experience, you would go with the internship at the global organization. But then again, we all work for money as well. So that person might need to just go for, the entry level position in a national company, and then try to work their way out, through a global organization. So I really hope that answered the question.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
In fact,
I think she responded also. Thank you.
Oh.
So I think I'll just quickly jump to my next question, and this one I think is for you, Myriam. Yeah. It says, what is the biggest challenge you faced as an HR advisor for Tiffany Co?
Oh wow, okay. I faced two challenges since I first started my career as an HR advisor and in charge of the KSA team. So one was, unfortunately, due to the COVID situation, we had to put the recruitment on hold. So that was a little bit of, a struggle and a challenge on, okay, if we've already given the okay for certain candidates, but how the challenge is how to retain them until the whole situation is over, and to tell them that they will be, to announce that for example, our store opening will happen later this year and not when it was first expected. So that was one of the challenges. But also one of the challenges in general, and not only in Tiffany Co, but as an HR advisor, wherever you go, especially if you're specialized in recruitment, one of the challenges I've always faced was that some markets need different calibers than others. And usually there's strict calibers. So let's say for Tiffany Co, we really have strict calibers. We do need the best people to work with us. And in some markets, without mentioning names or giving names out, it is a challenge to get the right caliber for the positions needed, especially when they're managerial levels and above. Because an entry level position can be please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it can be done by anyone, but it's much easier to find more people in an entry level position or associate position than to find a great caliber for a higher position. So these were the two challenges
Thank you.
I currently face.
Thank you. I think there's a great message in for all the students here also, I think, is to grow and get promoted within the organization so that you can pick up that position, and then maybe HR will come running behind you.
Exactly. But also, it's always good to see challenges as something positive or a sign for change. And when I say that we're holding on the recruitment, it doesn't mean that we're sitting at home, working from home and maybe doing nothing. But we were fortunate enough to have several digital platforms that we can use for virtually interviewing, for recording an interview and leaving it for the HR to come back to it. So it really helps. There are challenges, but it really helps you to think outside the box and always take a step further in what you're doing, and thinking of how to play smart and not play hard, if I could put it that way.
Yeah, for a fact. Yeah. So I think my next question is pretty much an addendum to what I just asked you before. But what keeps you motivated in the long term? I mean, we all work in the same role sometimes, and we give about 2 to 3 years to the same role. And we just want to know what your motivation, how do you keep yourself motivated?
Okay, well, I keep myself motivated, or I am actually motivated, and I haven't lost my motivation yet, is because I'm really passionate about, the jewelries in general, and especially Tiffany Co jewelry. So it really comes from genuinely believing in what you do, and genuinely believing in the values that your organization is providing. But on a more, personal level or a more human level, what really keeps me motivated is my line manager. Because there is a say that, goes like, if people don't leave jobs, they leave managers. But to be honest, in my case right now, my manager is the biggest motivation, if not my main motivation. I'm also motivated because when you first join a company and you have a clear and clear vision and career path or career progression idea, it makes you always want to work harder and more to actually prove yourself. Again, if you have you first start with a coordinator, then you become an assistant manager, etc., etc. So when you have a clear career path, that keeps you motivated for sure. But if you're lost and if you're not really understanding what's going on around you, or you were expecting a promotion but no one came and spoke to you about it, this I understand can be really, really frustrating for employees. And lastly, as an HR person, my customers, in that case, my employees are my motivation, because in general, I'm a person who loves lending a hand, and that could be actually a very bad weakness, but no, it is, that keeps me really motivated. And whenever, one of your employees comes back or your candidate comes back with a thank you email, or send you a gift into the office, or not a bribe, but just like a small nice gesture, this really keeps you motivated as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. My next question is that, a luxury brand also needs to attract the best talent. And there are many, many luxury brands out there. and the best talents are not that many. So what do you do? What is the best way to maintain that image of a luxury brand so that you can attract the best talent that is out there? So some strategies from the HR perspective.
Okay. For us, for example, it's doing things with love. This is how you really maintain, the great image of the luxury brand. Sustainability is something else that really keeps the image of Tiffany Co alive and always on top of things. We're the next generation leaders of jewelry, so we need to really act upon it. So when I say act upon it, that means that to keep a great image of the company you're working for, you yourself need to be, professional. By the way, when I say this, it might be hard to do because we're different personalities inside and outside work, but it's also very important to, keep an image of yourself outside of your work environment as a good one, because the world is very small. Someone would be like, oh, she works for Tiffany, they work for Fad, so we know them. Everyone knows everyone. So it's very also, it's important to keep your image is from the image of the company and vice versa. So this is important. But on a, practical base, we keep our image, by and find our talent by attending career fairs or giving internship opportunities whenever needed by the business. Flaunting our employees' talent, designs, something great they've done. It's the people are the most important way of maintaining an image. But again, as I said, it could be sustainability. It's really doing things with love. It's being professional outside and inside your work environment.
Thank you so much. I think that made a lot of sense. My next question, I think, is again coming back to what we were asking in the beginning. And this time, I think the students want to know, what are the top 3 negative qualities that can get one rejected while being while being there while going in for a recruitment for a luxury brand?
Oh, that's very easy. Your lack of passion, and it's easier. By the way, it is easier, unfortunately, to reject someone than to hire someone.
Okay.
So in terms of if you want to easily be rejected, show your lack of passion, show your lack of storytelling towards the brand and towards the vision or the values of the brand. Don't do your work beforehand, for sure. So lack of research or lack of knowledge about the brand and what it does and how long has it been there. I'm not asking you questions that I can easily find on Google or Wikipedia, but I still am expecting you to have the basic knowledge of what we do. And not only the lack of research or knowledge about the company and the brand, but it's also the lack of knowledge of your job description. So if you don't know what you've applied for and you don't know what could be expected from you in that role, then no one can help you but yourself. And lastly, I would say, again, not being punctual, the appearance. If someone is not well groomed, then we're expecting them to, have a face-to-face job, like in a store all day. If grooming and appearance again is very important, because working in a luxury environment requires the appearance. But yeah, honestly speaking, it's really just lack of knowledge on what your job is going to be or what is expected from you about the brand, and lacking the passion storytelling. Don't get me wrong, I don't want you to fake your passion either, because if you go like, oh my God, I love this, no, because it will show that you're actually just not being serious. But you can feel it when someone is passionate about something or about a brand.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Myriam, so there's one more question here from a student of ours called Khushbu Asar. What she'd like to know is, what about people who do have some work experience previously, but now they're looking at switching careers and entering the luxury market. So what are the kind of job openings that are made available for such candidates?
It really just depends on what work experience you had previously and what work experience you will be looking for. Because, I can't say that, for example, if you want to switch careers and want to go from one industry to another, you need to start as a sales professional. No, because it might not get you where you want to be as a marketing assistant manager. So it really just depends on what you're looking for and what you've been doing, and how does the skill set match where you want to go next. By the way, guys, I before Tiffany Co, I had no luxury experience. So that if that gives hope to anyone, I was in the media industry, so media and broadcast. Happy to say I was working with OSN. Again, as an HR does not vary from one company to another much. What varies is really what the company does or services it does. So again, you really don't have to have a luxury work experience, but you need to have the work experience that is going to take you to wherever you want to go. I hope that answered the question, because it can have a lot of, this or.
Yeah, no.
Absolutely, yes. That makes a lot of sense. So if somebody is probably from marketing or communication or events or PR, and they've had that kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, Myriam, but if they've had that kind of experience, it does kind of make it a little easier for them to enter perhaps the luxury industry in the same kind of environment.
Of course. And again, it goes back to how your resume is looking like, what we said earlier on how to actually get to be picked from your resume, like being organized, the layout, etc. And it also shows again, it goes back to showing passion and knowledge and storytelling about where you want to be going. And usually this is only what it takes, because it's very easy to learn something new than it is to show that you're not interested.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. So I have my next question, and I know who this person is. This person is somebody who's got a degree, an advanced degree in jewelry design, has worked with a couple of brands before. So I know this person. So I'm just going to ask from the student side, like, while hiring a designer at Tiffany Co, will motion graphics be a key skill, as this skill is mostly seen and holds a great brand value on digital platforms? This is coming from basically a jewelry designer.
Okay, the answer is no and yes. That could be really confusing, but in that case, it is really handled on a case-by-case basis, and usually it's mainly the hiring manager that decides whether or not the motion graphics is a key skill set, because it simply just depends on what the requirements of the job you're applying for is. It could be a plus if it's not required by the role. It could be just a plus, and it could get you the job. But if it's not necessary in the job description, then it's not really a key skill. It really just depends on the hiring manager and what they think is needed, and with the help of HR, of course. But in some organization could expect the motion graphics to be a key skill. Others, it wouldn't maybe mean anything to them. Of course, again, within the marketing or digital department, but it hugely varies from one role to another.
Thank you. I think that made a lot of sense. My next question is quite little. It is a little different. What do you consider to be an organization's most important asset?
Come on, that's very easy. It's people.
I really had to put that question out there, because I think everybody on the team, they need to hear this, because it's important. Because sometimes our students, they think that the most important asset for an organization is the brand value. They do have that kind of image that they have about luxury brands, but it is quite important to come from an HR person that the most important asset.
It is important, but it's not the most important. So anything but people is not the most important. I personally believe that if you take care of your people will take care of your business. And people are simply the fuel for an organization to run. If you don't have people, then you wouldn't have a business. Then you wouldn't have values. You wouldn't have missions. You wouldn't reach anywhere without people. I mean, biggest example right now is the situation we're unfortunately in, the pandemic. Without us, there are a lot of things that have been affected, right? Without us as people, as individuals, there are a lot of things that have been already affected. So it would be nothing without the people. So I would say that the organization most important asset is its people.
Yes, thank you so much. Another interesting question says, other than the hard skills that you generally require, what kind of soft skills do you think a candidate must have for joining a luxury industry, for a luxury firm?
Okay, communication.
Okay.
Very important. Work ethic, adaptability to different situations, to change, because as I always say, change is the only thing that's consistent. And we obviously have already noticed that. Leadership skills, teamwork, emotional intelligence, very important. So if you can, always read books about emotional intelligence or watch videos about emotional intelligence, that would be great, because it's really one of the key skills, the key soft skills that we're looking for. Again, not necessarily in a luxury organization, but in general. Because after all, a luxury organization is going to hire people. It's not, we're not hiring like, aliens no, we're just people. We're simply people. So we need to have the basic skills as if we were applying anywhere else, as if, or to any big company. And that's it. It could be easily something to get you picked, but really emotional intelligence, organization, work ethics, adaptability, these are soft skills that could be really important.
There's another question that we have here from a student who would like to know if it's possible for a junior sales associate to take transfer to another country just after working for a year or so, or maybe 2 years.
100%.
Can.
100% can. We always look for internal talent before we even look for external talent. We love giving opportunities, and 100% you can. Yes, it's giving you opportunity. It shows your interest. You're again showing the easiness of being adaptable to different situations, to different countries. But you definitely have to go through job interviews and applying professionally and all. But 100%, yes, you can.
It also makes life simpler for the brand to sort of dissolve the DNA into the candidate.
Definitely, but that we can put that aside. It's okay. They don't need for those who don't have like the work experience yet. We don't need to give them that type of information now.
Sure.
I think Gauri, we can start taking up some student questions also. I mean, we can ask the students to also ask some questions.
Yes, please.
Of course.
Yes. So there is a question here from Prakshi. Prakshi, would you like to come online and quickly say hello to everybody and ask your question?
Yes, ma'am. Hi, my name is Prakshi, and my question to you is: once we have applied through mail and have sent across our CVs to the recruiter, how professional is it to make a follow-up call?
Okay. You usually don't follow up if you haven't got any hints already, because it could be that I posted a job, I advertised the job online, but I don't need someone for it like right away, so I wouldn't start the screening. It's just that I posted it. I'm giving it a month or so to gather as many candidates or as many resumes as possible, and then we will start recruiting for that role. So it's really but yeah, so yeah, you don't follow up on something you still don't know about. But of course, if I already called you or done a phone screening with you, and I promise a week or two, and I'll get back to you with an answer, you definitely can call me up and follow up. Send me an email on my work email, a follow up email basically. Call, whatever you're comfortable with. But don't be like, I don't need to see you in the office following up after a phone screening. But yes, you do definitely follow up if you were promised to get back an answer and you haven't. And it shows your enthusiasm. And let me put it that way. It really shows that you're interested and eager to join the company. So it could actually give me a different image of our first phone screening or resume screening, etc. So I hope it makes sense when to follow up and when to not follow up.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Great. Next up, we have Davina. Davina, would you like to come and ask your question?
Yeah, sure. Hello, ma'am. Good evening to you. I want to ask you this question, which is regarding recruitment of a potential employee. So is it an added bonus when a person who has their own business simultaneously running, if you want to recruit that person, is it like better off that way, or is it like an entire commitment issue for you to recruit that person in your company?
Oh, that's a great question. Again, it is in countries like the GCC countries, they don't all allow, and it will be written in your contract, to have a side business that could be of any conflict of interest to what you're applying for. So let's say you have you want to apply for Tiffany and you have a side business that creates jewelry. I mean, it is kind of a conflict of interest. But again, it is an advantage because it will definitely, it will be very easy for us to hire a person like that, because we would know that they know the terms and conditions, they would know the business ethics, they would know how what strategies to implement for opening a new business or helping our business grow. But again, it just depends really on the region, because here you don't usually find contracts that allow you to do so, especially if it's it has any conflict of interest. But if you have a bakery and you want to work at Tiffany, 100% you're allowed to, as long as you're abiding by the working hours and abiding by all the clauses that you have signed in your employment contract, and of course as mentioned in the UAE labor law.
And also bring cookies and muffins for everybody in office.
Exactly. Because this is, by the way, this is actually true. You know what, Manoj? This is one of the ways where you can really empower the young talents in a company. To be honest, food empowers everyone, but I mean, it's always good to have like snacks always there, and it is a way of showing your team or the employees in your company that you care about them.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I really hope it. Did you have another question, Davina?
Yes, I did understand, but I just have a little question with that. So if you have an entire company in that same sector, so that is an issue. But if you have an entire company in the same industry, then it should not be an issue, right? Then it should just be an added bonus.
That's quite tricky. Again, when you say the same industry, tell me what you mean by same industry.
She's talking about luxury.
Luxury.
Fine. Okay, so let's say we're a jewelry company and you have a side business in shoes, and we don't sell shoes, right? Of course you can.
Right.
Of course.
Absolutely.
But again, as long as you abide by the clauses in your contract, because this is an official contract, which you've already signed on, and it could be easily, an employee could easily take it to the government, and an employer could also take it to the government. So you really need to be careful what clauses are mentioned in your contract, and be very clear from the beginning with your employer about that. That's if you're reaching the final stages of your interviews, of course. because there's no point of telling them, you know, a lot about your personal life if you're still at the beginning, but you really need to be clear with them by the end, by the final stages. Understand what is expected from you, understand what you will be, what you should be providing, and you should also always be there. Let me put it that way. Your main job should not be your side business if you're willing to work for someone or with someone or in an organization. So this shouldn't be your main business, and which means that if the role you're applying for needs you to work longer hours or to go to an event after your normal working hours, and this is where you were supposed to be in your taking care of your side business, then you should prioritize your role.
Thank you so much for sharing that. We have Alia Usmani, who would like to ask you a very interesting question, which has been something that's been on my mind as well since a very long time whenever I'm looking out for a job, although I'm not currently, but let's go for it. Alia.
Hi, actually, my question was, like, if we need to apply for a job, how do we make sure we come in the eye of the company recruiter? Like, how should be the mail subjected to them?
I'm sorry, Alia. I think I'm losing you. Can you repeat the question?
The question was, if I've applied for a job, like, how do we come in the eye of the company recruiter, and what should the mail be subjected as?
What are they?
Allow me to read that on your behalf, please. So she's asking, if we need to apply for a job, how do we make sure that it comes in the eyes of the recruiter? That's the first part of the question. And the second part is where she's asking, how is the email supposed to be subjected? How should she write that email?
No, mostly the subject line, so that it can just quickly come into somebody's eyes. I think that's
okay. So basically, how to attract the recruiter's eye, is that it? Is that for once you've applied, or is it after? Okay, once you've applied. Let me tell you this. You've already caught the eye of the employer by simply applying. Believe it or not, but this is the truth that we don't usually tell everyone. But again, we're human, so we do miss out on some resumes and emails, that's for sure. But you have already caught the employer's eye by simply applying, because if you're applying through an applicant tracking system, it automatically goes to my email. So that is one way of being up there, is simply by just applying and showing interest in the role. But if, let's say, it's a role where you think there would be hundreds of thousands of applicants and you really want to be the most unique one, I would say send an email, try to get the contacts of the recruiter, which usually are out there for a lot of us, and they're out there for a reason. They're out there for attracting the right candidates. So simply try to get the contacts of that recruiter, email them on their work email. As a subject line, if you're applying for a PR or communication or marketing department, be creative. So don't just simply write Alia's resume, for example. No, I want you to actually grab my eye and my attention. I want you to make me laugh, if that makes sense, just by the subject line. Because even before I even open the content of it, it really needs to be, it needs to be catchy, but it doesn't have to be cheesy. Okay. So that's, again, if you're applying for one of the creative roles. But that doesn't mean if you're applying for an HR role, it's not wrong to show personality. Okay. We really need you to show your personality. So your personality can easily be obvious from a subject line, like, I don't know, what could you think of? What do you like the most, or what do you do in your free time that you can actually put as a subject line? What could tell me, what is like the personality that you think you want to show to the recruiter?
Probably I'm really good at multitasking. So I would put that as my first line. Like I can do a lot of things.
Okay, but again, multitasking, that's really, again, it could be really, yes, yes, and really professional. But I want you to be, I want you to catch my eye in a different way. Like, I bought a Tiffany necklace.
Oh, okay.
And then Alia's resume, for example. It's something of that kind that really shows your personality or is related to the recruiter, exactly, or to the company and the brand you're applying for. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for that. Meghna Nair from Bombay has another question for us. Meghna, would you like to come and ask?
Hello, ma'am. This is Meghna here.
Hi, Meghna. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah. So my question to you would be, what is the most important thing that you look for in a person's LinkedIn profile in order to hire them? Can you share some good points on how to create a strong LinkedIn profile and how to tap the right audience in LinkedIn?
Okay, that's a really, really good question because LinkedIn is one of the most used, if not the only one at the moment, used for recruitment or finding candidates. Again, it goes back a little bit to what I said to Alia. I need your bio to be extremely catchy. I need your bio to you know, I need you to be able to write in few lines or in 5 lines everything you do, all the experience you have, and how amazing of a person you are. So you work in social media or you want to apply for a social media for a social media job, put something super catchy and that shows your personality related to your social media, for example, or something that you find funny. It is not wrong to actually get help from the internet because it's out there for a reason, and it really definitely helps us. But I want your bio to explain everything about you and to, again, make me laugh, make it witty, show your personality in it, your professional and your probably, your crazy side, your fun side, and what you do outside work, because you might not be having the perfect experience or the most completed experience, but our interests are the same. That could get me to at least give you a call, and a call could lead to other things, as in resume screening once you send it to me after our LinkedIn contact, or face-to-face interview. It could just lead you maybe to a simple coffee with the recruiter, who can open doors for you for other companies. It doesn't necessarily mean that if you're having coffee with a recruiter that they could you have to be hired by that recruiter in that specific company. No, it can really open a lot of doors that you probably have never thought of or expected. So does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that.
I think, Gauri, we need to bring this to a close now. It's been an hour. I am sure.
Just quickly do the last 3 questions, because there are lots of questions here and I'm getting DMs in my mobile phone from students as well saying, please just take me up. So we'll quickly run this through. Nava Malika from FAD Pune has a question. Nava, go for it.
Yes, ma'am. Hi, good evening.
Hi, how are you?
So I'm great. How are you?
Good, thank you.
So I wanted to understand, how do you engage and empower young talents in your organization?
Okay, that's a very good one. I think I partially answered that when we were talking about putting food in the pantry and having healthy snacks, etc. But people can think that I'm joking, but it's actually very true. It's one of the things. It's definitely not the main things, but it's one of the things. Most importantly, though, training. Trainings are very important to engage and empower young talent. If we as young people or millennials, we always want to learn something new. So if you don't give them the opportunity to learn something new or give them specific trainings and what their interest is, then they might not be as motivated as they should be. You can also motivate them by offering mentoring and reverse mentoring. So let me explain that. So I offer you mentoring. I explain to you, for example, what is expected from you. So I have a lot of experience, let's say. So I'm helping you know what exactly you should be doing or what steps you should be taking. But reverse mentoring is, making you also give me some tips and tricks. Let's say, very simple example. You have an old employee, and an employee who is advanced in age, and a very young employee. The very young employee will mentor the advanced in age employee by helping them with technology, for example. They have a video call, but they can't set it up. They have a problem with the Wi-Fi, etc. Of course, you have the IT department, but you know what I mean, right? It's really offering mentoring and reverse mentoring. It's also giving your talent the freedom to express themselves. You want your voice to be heard. So if I don't give you that opportunity during meetings or simply between you and me as a manager, then again, you probably won't be as motivated as you should be. And then it could vary from, setting individual KPIs, making them feel involved, encourage their well-being and health. So, create marathons or running for a cause, or taking them, simply bringing someone in the office to do a full checkup on their health. Recognize their hard work and send a thank you email, or it could be, you should really think of what makes you happy, and that probably would also make people around you happy, because it's very simple, where we can easily be pleased. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Fab. I have another question.
Of course.
Do you think digital disruption and artificial intelligence will change the shape, size, skills, and composition of the modern workforce? And if so, how do you think we should prepare ourselves for it?
Oh, that's a very good one. I think we've answered it in bits and pieces with certain questions, but honestly, our generation and the millennial generation and the generations that's coming after us literally were born with a tablet in their hands, so they do not need to do anything to be prepared. But let me tell you how you can be prepared. As you know, we're all in a way gurus of technology. It's just important for you to be on top of the know-how, understand the know-how of what digital platforms are used by organizations. You need to understand what digital platforms are out there that are conquering the market, and that could be useful in where you're going to be working or in your job. Again, digital disruption, as much as it's done probably certain harm, it did help us move forward, think forward. So again, let me take back the example of interviewing. The current situation is making us go digital, right? And very few businesses at the moment are refusing to go digital because it's simply the way forward. So in fact, the digital disruption helped us in some markets be like, okay, you know what, we need to start with our e-commerce platform. Maybe we should start by creating an online marketing team. We need to hire, and I don't have the time to do so, but I can ask the candidate to record a video and get back to me, and I can watch it anytime. It's really it could have its ups and downs, and it certainly does help a lot nowadays. I don't see it as something, I don't see it as bad as people think it could be. But again, it might reach to an extent where it replaces us as human being, and that where the harm could, could start.
Sure. Thank you so much, Myriam. We'll quickly wrap up with the last and a very important question that we have from Punita Gautam. Punita, would you like to come and ask?
Yeah, hi ma'am. So my question was, what kind of tasks to expect in an interview for luxury brands? As in, you previously mentioned that while interviewing, you can ask for interviews to do some tasks. So what kind of tasks should we be prepared for while we are interviewing for luxury brands?
I wouldn't say tasks, but I would say questions. You really need to prepare your questions, and they need to be the right questions. So example of questions that you could certainly ask any recruiter during your interview, because definitely the mic will be yours towards the end, is how big is my team? What is if you don't already know, what is the the organization, and what's the culture of the organization? What are you looking for in a candidate? Never speak about salary during an interview. It's definitely a must later on. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we all work for the money, even though we do some things that are of interest or passion, but at the end, we all work for money. So there are questions again, how big is my team? Who will I be reporting into? Will I have direct reports? You should have an idea before entering the interview about these questions. But again, it could also it really shows the recruiter how interested you are. And in terms of tasks, it just again, not all positions have tasks. So for example, very few positions in finance or marketing can require you to be prepared for tasks. Finance could be accounts or simply Excel. That could be a task that you need to be prepared for. For digital platforms or marketing or e-commerce, maybe you could be asked for a task that's related to websites, UX, UI designing, etc. But we usually recruiters don't usually hand in tasks, especially at entry level or associate level.
Super. Thank you so very much, Myriam. We are not going to take more of your time today. There was a little something that you had shared with us before the students came in about your Instagram. Would you like to kind of just put that across? I'll quickly punch in your Instagram handle for all the students to follow as well.
Yes, of course. Can you hear me?
Yes,
we can.
Yeah, because I think I lost myself for a moment there. So just for you to know, when I was writing, for the students to know, when I was writing my bio, I put again an example of a catchy, fun paragraph that will, say a lot about me, but at the same time, it doesn't make me lack any professionalism. So let me read that out to you. And I think you've already mentioned part of it, right? At the beginning, but it starts from when she's not recruiting, Myriam loves improving her yoga skills, traveling and maintaining her social media persona, and of course, shopping from all Tiffany stores. Similarly, Myriam leads a very caffeinated, dependent life, but mainly considers herself as a human being. And then I skipped a line, which I can help you later on. I mean, honestly speaking, you can have my email and drop me any questions you still have. I'll be more than happy to answer you. But then I skipped a line and I said, feel free to reach out to Myriam via her Instagram profile, which is at Myriam Riz, Myriam with double R, Riz. If you ever need emotional support, career guidance, or simply if you want to inquire about the fastest route to the Tiffany stores for some luxury shopping.
That is so very kind, catchy, and you won our hearts over, Myriam. We are so blown apart with that. And thank you so very much for joining us today. Thank you to all the students. Thank you, Manoj sir.